The night sky over New Mexico sparkled with stars as Dr. Ellie Martinez poured her third cup of coffee. It was 2:30 a.m., and the control room of the Pine Ridge Observatory hummed with the soft sounds of computers. Ellie worked the night shift, monitoring deep space signals, a job that was usually quiet. Most nights she just checked equipment and wrote reports. Tonight was different. "That's strange," she said, leaning closer to her screen. The computer had flagged an unusual pattern of radio waves. They came in short bursts, then repeated in the exact same way every 90 seconds. Ellie took a sip of coffee and ran the standard checks. Most unusual signals turned out to be equipment problems or signals bouncing off satellites. This one didn't match any known patterns in their database. She picked up the phone and called her boss, Dr. Alan Rogers. 20 minutes later, he rushed into the control room, his gray hair messy from sleep. "Show me," he said, pulling up a chair beside her. Ellie pointed to the screen. "It started 3 hours ago. The pattern repeats perfectly. I've checked everything. It's not equipment failure, not a satellite, not a known pulsar." Alan studied the pattern and frowned. "Where is it coming from?" Ellie pulled up the tracking data. "That's the other strange thing. It's moving. Heading toward us, actually." For the next 2 days, Ellie and Alan barely left the control room. They brought in other scientists, ran more tests, and followed the signal as it grew stronger. By the third day, they couldn't deny what the data showed. "It's a ship," Alan said finally, his voice quiet with wonder, "and it's sending the same message over and over." The government arrived 12 hours later. Men and women in dark suits filled the observatory, setting up new equipment and asking endless questions. Ellie explained everything she knew, showing them the signal pattern and her analysis. A tall woman named Director Karen Foster listened carefully before speaking. "Dr. Martinez, we believe this is a distress call. The pattern matches what we'd expect from a damaged navigation system trying to find a safe landing point." Ellie's eyes widened. "You've seen something like this before?" Director Foster didn't answer directly. "We need your help translating this signal. You know it better than anyone." Over the next week, Ellie worked with a team of linguists and code breakers. The signal wasn't just random noise, it contained data, patterns within patterns. By comparing the message to basic mathematical principles, they began to understand pieces of it. "It's definitely a distress call," Ellie told Director Foster during their daily meeting, "and we think we know where they plan to land." 3 days later, Ellie found herself in the passenger seat of a government SUV, driving through the Nevada desert. They had set up a landing zone in a flat, empty area far from any towns. Military vehicles formed a wide circle around the site. Soldiers with weapons stood at regular intervals, facing outward. Commander Jack Weber led the security team. He was a serious man with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Dr. Martinez, I need you to stay back with the communication team. If anything goes wrong, we evacuate immediately." Ellie nodded, but she felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. After all her years studying the stars, she might be about to meet someone from beyond Earth. The wait lasted hours. The hot desert sun made everyone sweat and grow irritable. Then, just as the sun began to set, one of the radar operators shouted, "Contact! Something entering the atmosphere!" Everyone looked up. At first, Ellie saw nothing but the darkening sky. Then a bright point of light appeared, moving fast. It grew larger, leaving a trail of fire behind it. The object slowed as it approached, its descent controlled but not smooth. "It's damaged," someone said nearby. The spacecraft, because that's what it clearly was now, looked nothing like the flying saucers in movies. It was roughly oval-shaped with odd angles and protrusions. Parts of its surface glowed red from the heat of entry. As it came closer, Ellie could see black scorch marks along one side. The craft landed with a heavy thud about 300 yards from the perimeter. Dust billowed around it, and for several minutes, nothing happened. "Commander." Weber gave orders through his radio, and soldiers moved into positions. Ellie watched through binoculars. The craft was about the size of a small bus. Its surface had a dull metallic color under the scorch marks. There were no visible windows, but a seam along one side suggested a door. Movement, Commander Weber said sharply. East side of the craft. The seam widened, becoming an opening. Light spilled out from inside. A ramp extended to the ground. For a long moment, nothing emerged. Then, a figure appeared in the doorway. Even from a distance, Ellie could tell it wasn't human. It moved with difficulty, almost crawling down the ramp. Its body seemed wrong somehow. Too many joints, strange proportions. Behind it came a smaller figure, moving with more ease but staying close to the first. Mother and child. Ellie whispered to herself, though she had no reason to think this. Something about the way the smaller one stayed near the larger one just felt like a parent and child. The larger creature collapsed at the bottom of the ramp. The smaller one crouched beside it, making movements that looked like distress. "We need to help them," Ellie said, turning to Director Foster. "The bigger one is hurt." Commander Weber shook his head. "Too dangerous. We don't know anything about them." "They came here for help," Ellie argued. "Look at their ship, it's damaged." They sent a distress call. Director Foster watched the aliens for another minute, then nodded. "Medical team forward, security team with them. Dr. Martinez, you come too. You understand their signal best." They approached slowly. The soldiers formed a protective circle around Ellie and the medical team. As they got closer, Ellie could see the aliens more clearly. The larger one had a body covered in what looked like smooth plates, colored deep blue with purple markings. It had 4 limbs plus 2 smaller appendages near its head. The head itself had no visible mouth but 3 large eyes arranged in a triangle. Fluid that looked black in the fading light leaked from between its plates. The smaller one was similar, but with lighter coloring. It made high clicking sounds as they approached. The larger alien, the mother, Ellie still thought, reached out with a trembling limb. In its hand was a small device. It pushed this toward Ellie with obvious effort. Ellie knelt down, ignoring Commander Weber's warning to stay back. She took the device carefully. It was warm and had small lights blinking along its surface. The alien mother touched the device, then touched her head, then gestured to Ellie. The meaning seemed clear. It was a way to communicate. Ellie held the device near her head as the alien had shown. Suddenly, she heard a voice in her mind. Not exactly words, but meanings that her brain translated into English. Hunters, following. Child, important. Save, my child. The alien mother's largest eye fixed on Ellie. A limb reached out and touched her hand. The sensation was warm and dry. "Promise," the voice in Ellie's head said. "I promise," Ellie whispered. The large alien shuddered once, then grew still. The smaller one made a keening sound that needed no translation. It was grief. Commander Weber stepped forward. "Both aliens need to be quarantined immediately. We don't know what diseases they might carry." "The mother is dead," said Dr. Susan Wright, the head of the medical team. She pointed to instruments she had been using to scan the aliens. "But the child is alive and in distress." Ellie stood up slowly, still holding the communication device. "The mother's last words were asking us to save her child. They're being hunted by someone. The child is important somehow." The small alien looked up at Ellie with all 3 eyes. It made no sound now, but seemed to be waiting. "We need to get it to a secure medical facility," Dr. Wright said. "It's life. Signs are unstable." Director Foster nodded. "Prepare transport. Full containment protocols." She looked at Ellie. "Dr. Martinez, you're coming too. That device may be our only way to communicate with it." As they prepared to move the alien child, Ellie looked back at the ship and the body of the mother. She couldn't help wondering what terrible danger had driven them across the stars to Earth, and what might be following them. The alien child reached out and took Ellie's hand as they walked toward the waiting vehicles. Its grip was surprisingly strong. "I'll help you," Ellie said, hoping somehow it understood. "I promised your mother I would." Above them, the stars continued to shine in the desert sky. Somewhere up there, Ellie knew, something was hunting this child, and Earth had just become involved in a conflict it didn't understand. The military medical facility stood hidden in the mountains, surrounded by tall pine trees and security fences. 3 days had passed since the alien ship landed. Inside a special room with controlled air and temperature, the young alien child lay on a bed designed for human patients. Machines beeped softly, measuring things the doctors didn't fully understand. Dr. Susan Wright hadn't slept more than 4 hours at a time since the aliens arrived. She studied the readings on the screen and made notes. The child's skin had changed color again, now a soft greenish blue instead of the deep blue from before. "Is that good or bad?" Ellie asked, sitting nearby. She hadn't left the facility either, feeling responsible for the child since taking the mother's device. "I think it's good," Susan said. "The patterns are becoming more regular. In humans, that would mean healing." The child's 3 eyes remained closed. Its chest moved up and down in a breathing pattern slower than a human's, but steady. The small limbs occasionally twitched. Commander Weber entered the room, bringing the smell of coffee with him. He handed cups to both women. "Any change?" he asked. "Getting stronger," Susan replied, "but still unconscious." Weber nodded, his face serious. "The higher-ups want answers." "What are they? Where did they come from? Are more coming?" Ellie held up the communication device the mother had given her. "I've been studying this. It's not just a translator. It contains data, like a combination of an encyclopedia and a personal diary." She pressed a button on the device, and a holographic display appeared above it. Strange symbols floated in the air, slowly changing. "Can you read that?" Weber asked. "Not exactly read it, but the device connects to my thoughts somehow. When I focus on a symbol, I get impressions, ideas." Ellie pointed to a complex pattern. "This one gives me information about their home world. It orbits a red star, has 2 moons, and is mostly covered in water." "What about why they came here?" Weber pressed. Ellie frowned. "That's harder. I get feelings of fear, of being chased. Their people, they call themselves Kelthrians, were attacked by another species. Something about genetic experiments." A small sound from the bed interrupted them. The alien child's middle eye had opened slightly. All 3 humans turned to look. "Hello?" Ellie said softly, moving closer. "You're safe." The child's eye focused on her. The other 2 eyes opened slowly. Its skin rippled, changing to a deeper blue with purple spots. Susan checked her instruments. Heart rate increasing. "It's afraid." Ellie touched the communication device and held it near the child. "I promised your mother I would help you," she said clearly. "Do you understand me?" The child made a soft clicking sound. Its hand, with 3 long fingers and an opposable thumb, reached toward the device. Ellie let the child touch it. A wave of feelings washed over Ellie. Confusion, fear, grief. Then something like recognition. "You helped," a voice seemed to say in her mind. The words weren't exactly English, but her brain translated the meaning. "Yes," Ellie said. "We want to help you. What's your name?" The child made more clicking sounds. Then through the device came Liran. Over the next week, Liran grew stronger. The communication became clearer as both Liran and Ellie learned to use the device better. They discovered that Kelthrians needed slightly less oxygen than humans but could breathe Earth's air without problems. Their skin changed color based on health and emotions: blue for calm, green for healing, purple for fear, and a bright orange for pain. Liran ate soft foods that Susan prepared based on samples from the ship. The child was a quick learner, already picking up English words without using the device. "How old are you?" Ellie asked one day as they sat together. She had brought picture books from the facility's small library. Liran touched the device. 12 cycles, young for my kind." "Like a child for us," Ellie said. "Yes, but we learn faster than human children. Our minds develop while our bodies are still small." Ellie showed Liran pictures of Earth, oceans, mountains, cities. The child studied each one carefully. "Your world is beautiful," Liran said, "different from home." "Do you miss your home?" Ellie asked gently. Liran's skin darkened. Home is gone. The Vordax destroyed it. The Vordax? Are those the ones who were chasing you? Yes. They hunt us. They want what we know. Liran touched its head. What I carry. Before Ellie could ask more, Commander Weber entered with Director Foster. Their faces looked serious. Dr. Martinez, we need to talk, Director Foster said. Privately, in a conference room down the hall, Foster showed Ellie images on a tablet. They were blurry pictures of something large in space, taken by a satellite. This appeared at the edge of our solar system yesterday, Foster explained. It's following the same path as the ship that brought Liran. Ellie studied the image. The object was much bigger than Liran's ship, maybe the size of a large aircraft carrier. The Vordax, she whispered. Weber looked surprised. You know about them? Liran just mentioned them. They destroyed the Kelthrians' home. They're hunters. Ellie looked up at the director. What do they want? Foster's voice was grave. We intercepted a transmission from the ship. It's demanding we hand over what they call the specimen and the data. They claim the Kelthrians stole important research from them. Liran is just a child, Ellie protested. A child who might be carrying something valuable, Weber said. We need to know what it is. Ellie returned to Liran's room, troubled by the meeting. The alien child was sitting up in bed, skin a calm blue, looking at a book about animals. Liran, Ellie said carefully, sitting down. I need to ask you something. Important. What are the Vordax looking for? What do you carry? Liran put down the book. All three eyes focused on Ellie. My mother was a scientist, the child said through the device. The Vordax came to our world 50 cycles ago. At first they said they wanted to trade, but they really wanted to study us. Liran's skin rippled with darker colors. Our bodies can change, not just colors but inside too. We can adapt to poisons, to disease. The Vordax wanted this ability for weapons. Liran touched its chest. They created a terrible sickness. It kills slowly, painfully. They tested it on my people. Ellie felt sick. That's horrible. My mother found a way to fight the sickness. A cure. But the Vordax didn't want a cure. They wanted the weapon. So we ran. Liran's voice in Ellie's mind sounded sad. Before we left, my mother put the cure here. Liran touched the back of its neck. Inside you? Ellie asked, shocked. A biocrystal. It stores data in living cells. It has the cure formula and... Liran hesitated. All of our people's knowledge, our history, our science, our art, everything that made us Kelthrian. I may be the last one left. Later that evening, Ellie met with Susan, Weber, and Foster to share what she had learned. If what the child says is true, Susan said, the biocrystal could be incredibly valuable. Not just the cure for this weapon, but an entire civilization's knowledge. And the Vordax want it back, Weber added grimly. Director Foster looked out the window at the darkening sky. Their ship will reach Earth orbit in 5 days. The President and Joint Chiefs are discussing options, but they're divided. Some want to hand over the child to avoid conflict. We can't do that, Ellie said firmly. We promised protection. Others agree with you, Foster said. But we need to know more about this biocrystal and what it contains. Is there a safe way to access it? Susan thought for a moment. Maybe. I'd need to run scans first, but if it's connected to Liran's nervous system, removing it could be dangerous. We should ask Liran, Ellie suggested. It's their choice. The next morning, Professor Henry Nelson arrived at the facility. He was a leading expert in immunology who had been cleared to join the project. After examining Liran and running several scans, he confirmed what Liran had told them. There is definitely something embedded at the base of the skull, he told the group. It's generating low-level energy readings unlike anything I've seen before. Liran sat up in bed, now strong enough to move around a little. I can show you how to access it. My mother taught me the process, but I need to trust you will use it wisely. Ellie took the child's hand. We want to help you, Liran, and we want to protect Earth if these Vordax are as dangerous as you say. Liran's skin turned a new color, a warm gold that they hadn't seen before. Then I will trust you, Ellie. My mother chose this planet for a reason. She believed humans would help. As Susan and Henry prepared for the procedure to access the biocrystal, Ellie couldn't help wondering, had Liran's mother known the Vordax would follow them to Earth? Had she deliberately brought a dangerous enemy to their doorstep? Or had she seen something in humans that gave her hope, a potential ally against a terrible foe? Whatever the truth, they had just 4 days before the Vordax arrived. 4 days to learn the secrets of an alien civilization and prepare for whatever came next. The operation room glowed with soft blue light. Liran lay face down on a special table, the back of the child's neck exposed. Dr. Susan Wright and Professor Henry Nelson wore surgical masks and gloves as they prepared their instruments. Ellie stood nearby, ready with a communication device in case Liran needed to tell them something important. Are you sure you want to do this? Ellie asked Liran. We could find another way. Liran's skin rippled with patterns of blue and gold. It must be done. The child's thoughts came through the device. The Vordax will be here soon. You need what I carry. Henry checked the 3D scan showing the exact location of the biocrystal. It sat between 2 vertebrae at the base of Liran's skull, tiny filaments extending into the surrounding tissue. The crystal's connections to your nervous system are extensive, Henry said. This won't be easy. My mother designed it that way, Liran replied, so it couldn't be removed without my permission. I must relax certain muscles and direct my body's energy to release it. Susan looked concerned. That sounds painful. It will be, Liran said simply, but necessary. Commander Weber watched from behind a glass window with Director Foster. Military personnel moved through the facility with greater urgency now. The Vordax ship would reach Earth orbit in less than 48 hours. Begin, Liran said. Susan nodded to Henry, and they started the procedure. Liran made no sound, but the child's skin flashed orange, the color of pain as they worked. Ellie held Liran's hand tightly. You're doing great, she encouraged. After 30 tense minutes, Henry carefully lifted a small object from the back of Liran's neck. It glowed with an inner light, changing colors like Liran's skin but faster and more intense. About the size of a grape, it looked like a crystal with many facets. Remarkable, Henry whispered. It's warm, almost like it's alive. Susan quickly treated the small wound on Liran's neck. The child's skin slowly returned to a steady blue as the pain faded. The biocrystal contains everything? Director Foster asked, entering the room now that the procedure was complete. Liran sat up slowly with Ellie's help. Yes, the cure formula is just one small part. It also holds our history, science, art, everything that made us Kelthrian. Henry placed the crystal in a special container designed to read its energy patterns. Screens around the room lit up with strange symbols and diagrams. It will take time to understand all this, Henry said, his eyes wide with wonder. There's so much information. Focus on the cure first, Weber instructed. If the Vordax use their weapon, we need to be ready. For the next day, Henry and a team of scientists worked non-stop to understand the biocrystal's secrets. Liran helped translate key concepts that didn't make sense in human terms. The child grew tired quickly, still recovering from the procedure, but pushed through with determination. Ellie stayed close to Liran, bringing food and making sure the young alien rested when needed. During one quiet moment, Liran asked a question that had been troubling the child. What will happen to me after this? When the crystal is studied and the Vordax are gone? Ellie hadn't thought that far ahead. What would you want to happen? Liran's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. I have nowhere to go. My world is destroyed. My people are gone. The child paused. Could I stay on Earth? With you? Before Ellie could answer, alarms blared throughout the facility. Weber rushed into the room. The Vordax ship has accelerated, he said grimly. They'll be in orbit within 2 hours, and they've sent a message. They're demanding we surrender the specimen and the stolen research immediately. What did we tell them? Ellie asked, moving protectively closer to Liren. The president informed them that we don't surrender visitors to our planet without cause, Weber replied. They didn't like that answer. Director Foster entered, her face serious. All non-essential personnel are being evacuated. We're moving the biocrystal to a secure underground facility. Dr. Martinez, you and Liren will go with it. What about the cure? Ellie asked. Henry looked up from his work. We've made progress, but we need more time. The formula is incredibly complex. Liren's skin darkened. The Vordax won't wait. They'll attack. We have defenses, Weber said, though he didn't sound entirely confident. You don't understand, Liren said, standing up despite still being weak. I can help. There's something else my mother built into the crystal and into me. All eyes turned to the small alien child. What do you mean? Henry asked. Kelthrians have natural abilities that the Vordax wanted to use as weapons. One is our empathic projection. We can push feelings into others' minds. My mother enhanced this ability in me and linked it to the crystal. Ellie looked concerned. Is that why she put the crystal in you? Not just to protect the data? Yes, Liren admitted. I am the weapon and the shield. The crystal contains the cure, but I can disrupt the Vordax soldiers' minds temporarily. It won't hurt them permanently, but it will confuse them. Weber looked skeptical. You're saying you can mentally stun our enemies? For short periods, yes, but I need to be close to them, and it takes much energy. Before they could discuss further, the facility shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling as lights flickered. They're here, Foster said, checking her phone. That was an impact about 2 miles from here. They've sent landing craft. Weber barked orders into his radio. Soldiers ran to defensive positions throughout the facility. We need to move now, Foster said. The transport is waiting. As they hurried through the corridors, Henry carrying the container with the biocrystal, another explosion rocked the building. This one was closer, much closer. They're targeting us specifically, Weber realized. They must be tracking the crystal's energy signature. Liren stopped suddenly. Then we must separate. The crystal should go one way and I another. They won't know which to follow. No, Ellie protested. We're not using you as bait. It's not bait, Liren said firmly. It's strategy, and I won't be alone. I'll go with you. Weber considered this for a moment, then nodded. It could work. We'll send decoys in multiple directions. Dr. Nelson, you take the crystal with Team A. Dr. Martinez and Liren will go with Team B. Director Foster and I will coordinate the defense here. They reached an underground garage where vehicles waited. Just as they were about to separate into the different teams, the ceiling exploded above them. Everyone dove for cover as debris rained down. Through the new hole in the ceiling, strange figures dropped into the garage. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and narrow heads. They wore armor that seemed to shift and move like liquid metal. In their hands were weapons unlike anything Ellie had seen before. Vordax, Liren whispered, skin turning deep purple with fear. The soldiers with Weber opened fire, but the bullets seemed to slow down as they approached the Vordax, barely making impact. The aliens raised their weapons. Get down, Weber shouted. Instead of ducking, Liren stepped forward. The child's skin began to glow with an intense blue light. The 3 eyes closed in concentration. The lead Vordax soldier suddenly stopped, its weapon dropping slightly. The others slowed their movements, heads turning in confusion. Now, Liren shouted. I can't hold them long. Weber's team fired again. This time their bullets found their marks. 2 Vordax fell while others retreated back through the ceiling. Liren collapsed, skin fading to a dull gray. Ellie rushed to the child's side. Liren, are you okay? The young alien's eyes opened slowly. Tired, but it worked. We must hurry before more come. Henry had protected the crystal container with his body. He stood up, checking that it was undamaged. New plan, Weber said quickly. We go together. Safety in numbers. The main lab has better defenses than the outpost we were heading to. As they helped Liran to a vehicle, Ellie realized something had changed. The fear she had felt since the alarms first sounded had been replaced by determination. These Vordax had destroyed Liran's world and killed the child's mother. They had come to Earth threatening violence. But now Earth was fighting back, and they had something the Vordax didn't expect. A small alien child with remarkable courage and mysterious powers. As their vehicle sped through underground tunnels toward the main laboratory complex, Ellie held Liran's hand tightly. "Your mother would be proud," she whispered. Liran's skin showed a new color, a deep, rich purple mixed with gold. Ellie didn't need the translation device to understand what it meant. Hope. The main laboratory complex lay hidden beneath a mountain, its entrance disguised as an old mining operation. The convoy of vehicles rushed through the heavy security gates, which closed immediately behind them. Soldiers took positions along the perimeter as scientists hurried inside with equipment and data. Ellie helped Liran walk, the young alien still weak from using the empathic ability. Professor Henry carefully carried the container with the biocrystal, its glow pulsing gently through the special shielding. "This way," Director Foster said, leading them deep into the facility. "The central lab is protected by 50 feet of solid rock. Even the Vordax will have trouble reaching us here." They entered a large room filled with advanced equipment. Screens along the walls showed satellite images of the Vordax ship in Earth orbit and smaller craft landing in various locations. Military units around the world were mobilizing. "They're spreading out," Commander Weber noted grimly. "Looking for us." Dr. Susan Wright helped Liran to a chair and checked the child's condition. "Heart rate stabilizing. But you need rest after that mental exertion." "No time," Liran said, skin slowly brightening from gray back to blue. "We must prepare the cure before they release their weapon." Henry connected the biocrystal to a specialized computer. The data began flowing onto screens around the room, complex formulas and diagrams appearing faster than anyone could read them. "I've never seen anything like this," Henry said in awe. "Their understanding of cellular biology is centuries ahead of ours." A team of scientists joined him, working to understand the cure formula. Ellie stayed with Liran, who guided the scientists through the most important parts of the data. "There," Liran pointed to a section of code. "That sequence counters the base structure of the bioweapon, and this part helps the body repair damaged cells." Weber received reports from the military command. "The Vordax commander is demanding to speak with whoever is in charge of protecting the specimen. They've given us 1 hour before they escalate their retrieval operation." "They're going to use the weapon," Liran said quietly. "They always do." Foster made a decision. "Let's talk to them. Buy some time." On the main screen, the face of a Vordax appeared. Unlike the soldiers they had seen earlier, this one had markings on its gray skin and wore a kind of crown that seemed to pulse with energy. Its eyes were large, black, and without pupils. "I am Commander Vex of the Vordax Reclamation Force," it said in a voice that sounded like several people speaking at once. "You are harboring stolen property and a fugitive specimen. Return both immediately or we will be forced to use persuasive measures." Director Foster stepped forward. "I'm Director Karen Foster, representing Earth. The child you're pursuing came to us seeking asylum after you destroyed their world. We do not recognize your claim." The Vordax commander's face showed no emotion. "The Kelthrians were subjects of a research program vital to galactic security. Their biological properties belong to the Vordax Collective. The specimen you protect carries data that is our intellectual property." Liran stood up, moving into view of the camera. "I am not property. My people were not test subjects. You murdered billions for your weapons research." Commander Vex seemed surprised to see Liran speaking directly. "Specimen K-137, you have been upgraded beyond your natural permissions. Return to Vordax custody, and your final processing will be painless." Ellie felt sick hearing how they spoke about Liran, like the child was nothing but an experiment. She stepped forward beside Liran. "This is not going to happen," she said firmly. "Liran is under Earth's protection now. Your species is primitive and uninformed." Vex replied coldly. You cannot comprehend the importance of our work. The specimen's biological adaptability is crucial for weapons that maintain peace across 12 star systems. Peace through fear is not peace, Henry said, looking up from his work. The Vortex commander's patience seemed to end. You have 50 of your minutes to surrender the specimen and the stolen data crystal. After that, we will demonstrate why resistance is unwise. The screen went dark. They're going to release the bioweapon, Liren said. It's their standard tactic. They'll start with a small area to show what it does, then threaten to use it globally. Weber received an urgent message on his radio. We have reports of something being deployed from one of their landing craft. Some kind of mist over a small town about 30 miles from here. Everyone looked at Henry. How close are we to synthesizing the cure? We understand the formula now, he replied. But producing enough to treat a town, let alone a country or the world? That would take days with our current equipment. Liren moved to the biocrystal container. There's another way. The crystal contains not just information, but active biological components. If I reconnect with it, I can amplify its properties. Susan looked concerned. That could be dangerous for you. The connection was deep in your nervous system. I know, Liren said, but it's what my mother designed it for. A last defense. While they debated this option, reports came in about the small town. People were falling ill with symptoms that progressed with frightening speed. Weakness, difficulty breathing, skin, discoloration. They're dying, Weber said grimly. And the Vordax are broadcasting images to governments worldwide. Henry looked at his team. We can produce a small batch of the cure in about 30 minutes with what we know now. Maybe enough for that town if we hurry. Do it, Foster ordered. As the scientists worked frantically, Liren explained more to Ellie. The biocrystal can do more than just provide the formula. It can generate a countermeasure field that neutralizes the weapon completely, but it needs a living Kelthrian to channel the energy. That's why your mother put it in you, Ellie realized. Not just to hide it. Yes, she knew I might need to use it someday. The facility shook suddenly as explosions sounded above. Dust fell from the ceiling. They've found us, Weber said, checking security cameras. Vordax troops are breaking through. The outer defenses. Henry's team had just finished producing the first batch of the cure. It's ready, but we need to get it to that town immediately. I'll take it, Susan volunteered. With a medical team. Foster nodded. Go. We'll hold them off here. As Susan left with the precious vials, Weber organized the soldiers for defense. They'll reach the main lab in about 10 minutes at their current pace. Liren looked at Ellie. We need to use the crystal now. It's our only chance to stop the weapon completely. What will happen to you? Ellie asked, worried. I don't know, Liren admitted. No one has done this before, but my mother believed it would work. With no time to find another solution, they carefully removed the biocrystal from its container. Liren sat in the center of the room holding the crystal in both hands. It began to glow more brightly, matching the color of Liren's skin. Whatever happens, Liren said to Ellie. Thank you for keeping your promise to my mother. The young alien closed all three eyes in concentration. The crystal's light grew stronger, pulsing in rhythm with Liren's breathing. A field of energy began to spread outward from the crystal, filling the room with a soft glow. At that moment, the doors to the lab burst open. Vordax soldiers entered, weapons raised. Behind them came Commander Vex. Stop this immediately, Vex ordered, seeing what Liren was doing. The field of energy reached the Vordax. Their weapons sparked and shut down. Vex stepped forward, seemingly less affected than the others, and reached for Liren. Ellie moved between them. You won't touch the child. Weber and his soldiers surrounded the Vordax, their weapons still working inside the energy field. Your biological weapon has been neutralized, Henry announced, checking readings on his equipment. The energy field is destroying the pathogen wherever it encounters it. Vex's face showed emotion for the first time. Anger. That's impossible. The weapon is perfect. Not anymore, Liren said, eyes still closed in concentration. And I'm sending the cure formula to every human communication device within range. They'll distribute it worldwide. You've ruined decades of research, Vex snarled. I've saved countless lives, Liran corrected, including those of my people who survived your attacks. Yes, there are survivors. The crystal connected with them. They're hiding, waiting. Now they'll know the weapon can be defeated. The energy field pulsed one final time, then settled into a steady glow around Liran. The biocrystal had changed, becoming part of the young. Alien again, but differently. A small star-shaped mark on Liran's chest. Foster stepped forward to address Commander Vex. Your weapon is neutralized. Your advantage is gone. I suggest you leave Earth immediately and never return. Reports came in confirming the people in the small town were already improving after receiving the cure. Other Vordak ships around the world were retreating to orbit. Vex looked at Liran with hatred. This isn't over. The collective will not accept this defeat. Perhaps, Liran said, standing tall despite exhaustion, but they'll have to face not just Kelthrians now, but humans too. My mother was right about Earth. These people don't surrender to bullies. After the Vordaks reluctantly departed, promising vaguely to return someday, the facility began to return to normal. Scientists eagerly studied the wealth of knowledge the biocrystal had shared. Medical advances, technologies, art, and history of the Kelthrian civilization.